Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the webinar for the Masters in Clinical Mental Health Counseling at Marietta College. My name is Christy Burke. I'm the Director of Education Abroad and Graduate Recruiting. And we are here today with Dr. Michael Williams, Senior. And he is going to give a program overview and a small presentation, and then we will go forward. Okay, so we are going to have Dr. Williams give a small introduction to the program and some presentation, and then we encourage all participants to use the Q&A function to make sure that they ask any questions that you have regarding the program. This webinar is designed for students who have applied or thinking of applying, who have made the decision to come. So there is no question that we aren't able to answer. If for some reason there's a question that neither of us can answer, we'll definitely consult the chat function and find out where we need to get that information and get you the answer for you. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and have Dr. Williams begin.
Thanks, Christy. So I'd like to welcome everybody to coming out to see our webinar this evening. And just to reiterate what Christy said, we're more than happy to answer any questions that you have. So I'd like to start a little bit by talking about admissions requirements to the program. Admission requirements for the program, as you can see here, include 3 professional or academic references, and we ask you to provide the names and email addresses of those 3 people, and then we contact them to complete a reference form that a sample of which is available to be seen on our webpage. But we will contact them. We just want them to be someone who can speak to your work, either professionally or academically. So someone that supervised your work, whether it be any kind of clinical or paraprofessional work, isn't necessary. If it's somebody who was a manager at a job that you held that is not applicable to counseling, that's just fine as well. We also ask that you write an essay addressing your interest in becoming a counselor and the motivation that you may have had in order to do so. And we also look for a completion of a bachelor's degree, or at least one that will be posted of having completed before your enrollment would begin. So, and a minimum of a 3.0 GPA is required on a 4.0 scale. If you don't have below, if you have below a 3.0, we're going to ask you to take the GRE. But if you do have a GPA above 3.0, no GRE is required for admissions. And you'll want to have those test scores sent to us. And we are comfortable with entertaining applications that are pending GRE results. Maybe you haven't taken the test yet, or maybe you haven't gotten your test results back. That's just fine. We also request all undergraduate transcripts showing your degree, as well as any transcripts for any graduate coursework that you may have completed. And official copies will be requested upon admission. So if you have an unofficial copy, that's just fine to submit. And of course, you can see our completed application on our webpage at marietta.edu. If you just push in CMHC or counseling in the search field at marietta.edu, that'll get you over to our page, and you can find an application in PDF form there. So let's go to the next slide, please. So let's talk a little bit about what counselors do. So counselors do a lot of things, particularly in the clinical mental health environment. We work in community mental health agencies and hospitals. We do counseling in career centers, as well as at colleges and universities in a variety of places, at the student life centers or at the college. Maybe there's a psychological services or health center on a college or university campus. But we also engage in private practice. So something that maybe you might be familiar with if you've seen on television, where someone goes to a counselor's office and perhaps there's a waiting room, and then they see that counselor one-on-one. In short, or really kind of in a nutshell, counselors help others by providing psychotherapy and counseling services to both individuals as well as groups to handle or address a lot of life issues, ranging from mental and emotional disorders to personal, family, and social difficulties, even substance abuse. Next slide, please. I think I've been going a little slow or a little fast, so I'll slow down a little bit. So let's talk a little bit about why Marietta College. So first of all, Marietta is just a wonderful place to be. And if you're from the area, you already know that. And if you're not, then we are going to be more than happy to show you around, and that way you can see for yourself how great it is. I'm an Ohioan originally. I grew up in southwestern Ohio. I went to Ohio University and really love this part of the state. So coming here to Marietta College to start and develop this program and to teach here has really been something that's been really exciting for me and my family, and we're really glad to be a part of it here. But basically, when we talk about Marietta College's program specifically, we want to talk about our curriculum, which is designed to accommodate students that are both new, that is to say fresh out of an undergraduate degree, as well as those that maybe have been already in a career, they're looking for a career change, or they're looking to gain a credential so that way they can enhance the kind of work that they're doing. So the program structure allows for students to complete this program in as little as 22 months. And we do that by structuring our courses in a way that are convenient to people that have other obligations. And we'll get to that a little bit more in the future. But one thing to keep in mind is that we are structured in a manner that will allow this transition to happen in less than 2 years and for you to earn your degree at that time. Let's go ahead with the next slide. Thanks, Christy. So the outcomes of the program is that graduates of our program are eligible to pursue licensure as a licensed professional counselor, as well as a licensed professional clinical counselor. And that's relevant in the state of Ohio and a couple of other states, but particularly what's important here is that one will be able to practice the profession of counseling under the direction of whatever legal jurisdiction that they may find themselves in. So our graduates are able to pursue that license. We do not grant that license. We're an academic institution, but we do meet the requirements for licensure in a multitude of jurisdictions in all states in the United States. But those processes are different from place to place, but we do meet those educational standards. Next slide. So let's talk a little bit about the structure of our program. It's 60 credit hours, which is it seems kind of long for a graduate program. This is a professional degree, again, which can result in licensure, but it's 5 semesters long. The first year consists of a fall, spring, and summer term, and then the second year consists of a fall and spring term. Each term has 4 courses, and there's 1 evening per week when students are on campus. They take 2 classes during that evening. They're back to back. One class starts at 4:30 and ends at 7, and the other begins at 7 and ends at 9:30. Each term or semester, there is 1 class that is online, and there's also 1 intensive class that is per term. So let's talk a little bit about those. The online class is asynchronous for the most part. So coursework is done at a pace that is suitable for someone who is engaged with other responsibilities. So the work is typically delivered in modules or in sections where the class works together and follows from one module to another. So there's a group of chapters that are typically 3 to 5 weeks long. The intensive class per term is 1 weekend a month for the months of the term. So Friday evening and then all day Saturday, and then class doesn't meet again for another month. Our summer term is entirely online and is at an accelerated pace. So right now our students are, they started on the 4th of May and it is the 19th of May right now. They're getting ready to wrap up their second week of classes, and then a second class will start during the 4th week of their class. There may be some variation for this in future summers, but each class basically will overlap once a week or once every 4 weeks. One of the benefits about having this summer entirely online is, again, the convenience of being able to engage in other responsibilities and other activities over the course of the summer. Our professors can teach those classes from wherever they may find themselves, and our students can take those courses from wherever they may find themselves. In addition to our summer being entirely online and at accelerated pace, we also include a practicum and internship experience as part of the coursework. So this is required in almost every state as for licensure purposes to have engaged in a practicum experience as well as an internship experience. And those range from 100 hours a semester for a practicum for one semester to 300 hours a semester for 2 semesters of internship. And those are done in the second year of the program. And one last thing that I would like to talk about is we do have 3 electives as part of our coursework. And if you have completed any graduate coursework that would be applicable to the counseling profession, we can talk about the availability of transferring that credit in and transferring that in as electives or where it may appropriately fit. Most often those things fit in as electives. Christy, next slide, please. Oh, so what questions may you have? And we'd be more than happy to answer those. Do we have any, Christy?
Not yet. So at this point, if you can go up to your Q&A, feel free to type in some of your questions. I do have a question for you, Dr. Williams. With regards to laboratory space, is there any, can you describe what a student has access to at the school? I mean, I work here, so I know you're in Mills Hall, but I don't really know what else is available for a graduate student in the space you have.
So in addition to a research laboratory that's run by the Department of Psychology that our graduate students can participate in, we also have a laboratory that we used for the acquisition and practicing of counseling skills. And that consists of 2 rooms that are side by side that are equipped with video cameras and 2-way mirrors that we use to record. So for example, in our techniques course, students are required to record themselves practicing the techniques with a partner that we teach. And those range from attending skills to also skills that are specific to counseling and psychological theory that we teach as well. So they're also able to use those, or we use those in classroom instruction. So maybe if students are having difficulty really kind of understanding how something is done, we can bring them right into that lab and have a group of students on one side of the mirror observing how a professor is working through a program or a style or method with a student or 2.
Okay. So another question is this a part-time option or is it a full-time program only?
We have a full-time only program because we follow a cohort model. We currently aren't offering a part-time option. And we think that even though that we don't offer a part-time option, we do think that it's very workable because of the program structure that we have set up that allows people to take classes in the evening and continue to be employed, which is pretty typical for counseling programs overall. Where I went and where all of the colleagues that I've had over my years in the profession have gone for their master's degrees, it was very typical for there to be evening courses that run alongside people's opportunity to have a life outside of counseling education.
What is the difference between the LPC and the LPCC?
Sure. So in Ohio, we have a 2-tiered licensure system. So someone with a master's degree in Ohio is eligible to immediately obtain their licensed professional counselor credential. And then after 2 years of supervised practice in a clinical environment, they are able to obtain their second C and become an LPCC, which allows them to diagnose and treat mental and emotional disorders without supervision. LPCs are fully licensed independent clinicians. They just have certain limitations on the kind of practice that they can provide. Now in other states, an LPC credential cannot be obtained until after that period of supervision, and people work as resident assistants or they work as resident counselors or counseling residents. And in some states, an LPC is given immediately after, but there's the restrictions. They have a restricted license. So in Ohio, we just have that two-tiered licensing system. Our friends right across the river in West Virginia have a single-tiered system that they grant that LPC after the period of supervision.
Okay. Why do you think this is a good time to go to graduate school?
Well, I think it's always a good time to go to graduate school, to be honest. I tell all my undergraduate students that they ought to get a graduate degree, particularly a professional one. Our society really is just pushing more than a bachelor's degree to qualify to be able to have growth and security in employment. But also because of anticipated economic downturns, this is just a really good time in order to go to graduate school, in order to gain knowledge and information that can be beneficial to one moving forward. There really is no time like the present, and now is just a great opportunity to be able to take advantage of that. I myself went into graduate school during an economic downturn, and it was beneficial to me because I was able to put things aside a lot easier because there was less of a demand for the employment opportunities that I was qualified for.
And so I know that in some cases people think that counseling is only for people who majored in psychology. Can you talk about why this is more a multidisciplinary field?
Absolutely. So counseling is really kind of separate in its growth and development as well as its viewpoint from big P psychology. Psychology is a different helping profession entirely than counseling. And because of that, our profession likes to draw people from a variety of disciplines and backgrounds. So my bachelor's degree is in secondary education and social studies. And I graduated and worked with clinicians that had degrees in the arts, that had degrees in the liberal arts and humanities, in technical degrees. A former colleague of mine had a bachelor's degree in computer science, and I've worked with people with degrees in mathematics and business. So really, we're looking for people that have a variety of experience and a variety of points of view, because our students are able to become clinicians that can serve people that come from a variety of experiences and opportunities. So we really look for a holistic student body because we aim to serve a holistic group of clients.
Okay. So one question is, do you or does the department help a student find a practicum or an internship?
Indeed, we sure do. We have contacts with multiple agencies in the area and throughout the region, and we assist the student in really kind of identifying what agency would be best suited for them in light of their career goals. So there are a variety of agencies that serve different purposes, as well as just agencies that have a large umbrella of providing services to different clientele. So we really do work with our students in order to help them identify places that would probably best suit their needs. And of course, we know the people that provide that supervision. So we like to make that contact along with the client or along with the student, because that's really showing them how to work with the client in the future. We work in tandem with one another. We don't just assign our students to where they're going to do their internships.
So if a person works in an agency that's local, can they do their job for credit, or do they have to find an additional practicum or internship?
So they have to find an additional practicum supervisor, and basically because the kind of work they're doing at an agency doesn't always line up with the kind of work that is required in our internship and in practicum experiences. So they may be doing some case management, visiting people's homes, assisting them in gaining medical services or social services, but they're not necessarily doing therapy with their, or doing counseling with their clients. So what we look for is in those kind of opportunities, there are some hours that they're able to kind of carry over and use, but most of the time those qualify as indirect hours. So I worked as a case manager when I was doing my master's degree. Dr. Shogay did similar work when she was working on her master's degree. And it's kind of a tight fit, but it's not forever. It's a short-term obligation that provides a long-term solution.
You mentioned in your slide, you mentioned in passing that the practicum is 100 hours and the internship is 300. Are they both for credit? Can you distinguish what
Sure.
the difference is?
Yeah, so in the first spring or the second semester of the program, students are enrolled in a practicum course. So they meet for course credit, but outside of the weekly seminar that they have with faculty, they're at a mental health agency providing services and learning basically the way that services are provided and how agencies operate. So it's a 100 clock hour requirement, and 40 of those are direct client contact. So, and then in the internship, out of that 300 hours, 120 of those are direct client contact. And during those direct client contact, they're providing services to clients, again, in a counseling environment. And the other indirect contact hours might be doing chart work for the clients that they've done, reviewing charts, learning how billing systems work, and doing other kind of tasks around the agency. So, and during the way that we have it set up is the internship is done during the second year. So students are able to continue over the winter break to accrue hours for that total 600 hour that they need. So if they hit their 300 hours during the fall term, they can continue to accrue hours over the winter break to sort of mitigate the demands of the second semester of internship. And if they haven't met those hours and we have that course in progress, they can have that wrapped up before they come back for their second term.
Great. Okay, so another question is, in the cohort model, will year one students interact with year two, or are they really separate?
They're pretty separate. So we'd like to provide opportunities. Right now, we only have one cohort that's, our first year students are in their third term right now. But we do look forward for opportunities in the next year to be able to provide opportunities for those two cohorts to intermingle and to do things together. But when it comes to coursework, there really is no overlap. They're taking courses in a lockstep order. So the only, so for example, our students are taking an elective this summer. It's their first elective, but they'll complete those other two electives during their second year, and there's no place for electives on their during the first year curriculum, because we're looking to qualify our students to be ready to go out into the field their second year.
And are the elective classes related to counseling, or are they general psychology, so they're taught by the psych faculty?
Right, so yes, the answer is yes. So for one, they are related to counseling, and we plan to have a elective offering every semester. But if we have a student who has an interest that would be better met in the psychology department, or rather by the psychology faculty that are offering courses through our MAP, our Masters of Arts in Psychology program, they're able to take those courses and then apply them to this degree. So for example, maybe we have a student who's very interested in statistical analysis, or they want to take their research a little bit farther. They can arrange to take courses in the MAP program and transfer those into their, or not even, it's not a transfer, they just work those into their program of study.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit about cost?
Sure. So our program is currently $495 a credit hour. It's a 60-hour program, and that works out to $29,700 for the entire program, which kind of sounds like a really big number, but we are comparable to other Masters of the Arts in Counseling programs in the region. For example, we're comparable to OU and Marshall, as well as West Virginia. One thing I would like to reiterate is a lot of people, and I've heard this from a number of our applicants, is that they thought Marietta College would be very expensive. It was something that was keeping them away from applying to our program. But Marietta College undergraduate expenses don't line up with graduate expenses in all cases. So things are a little bit different here. And I think that we have an affordable option. It really, breaks down to, to less than $30,000 for the whole program. And for 60 credit hours, that's kind
Full
of
22 months.
Right, for the whole 22 months, yeah.
Okay. Are there lab fees related to the practicum, or that's just built into the intern?
Yeah, there aren't any lab fees that are related to that.
Okay, great. All right, I think the one other, let me see if we have any other additional questions. So I think it's important to remind everyone that this is Dr. Williams' contact information. And while he is an expert in the counseling realm and the program and the curriculum, neither he nor I are experts at all in financial aid. And so the person that you need to contact for financial aid is Emily Shook, and she is the director of financial aid, and her email is listed on the slide, as is her phone number. And so anyone who is thinking about applying or has applied or even has been accepted and has moved into the process should contact the Office of Financial Aid so that they can help you determine what options they are. With that in mind, Dr. Williams, can you mention a little bit about any type of funding for conferences, or also are there any GA-ships available in the program?
Absolutely. We will be offering one graduate assistantship in the upcoming year, and that will include a stipend as well as any connection with responsibilities that we would have with that graduate assistant. And there is funding available through Graduate Studies Council on campus for research and for attendance of conferences that are available for students to be able to pursue those academic pursuits as well.
Okay, and is that, are conferences mostly local, or are students traveling far for that?
It's very common for masters in counseling students to present at local, at state, regional, and national conferences. So those conferences in Ohio most often are held, the All Ohio Counselors Conference is held annually in Columbus. There's a regional conference that was going to be, they're working on getting a format together in result of the pandemic that was going to be in I want to say in Nebraska. Gosh, you kind of caught me off guard there. I've been accepted to that conference. I can't remember where it is. And then a national conference is typically held in a variety of places. They kind of go through a 4-year cycle of where they go. But it is common for master's students to present at all of those levels of conferences.
Okay, great. Well, it doesn't look like we have any additional questions. So at this time, this will conclude the webinar. And once again, if you have any questions, please contact Dr. Williams. And if you have any financial aid questions, Emily is the person. My name is Christy Burke. I also can help you through the process as well. We thank you so much for joining us. Have a good evening.